Hey, what's going on, guys? Today I'm going to be talking about the latest album to be released by Flume, entitled Palaces. This is his third studio album. If you're not familiar with him, Flume is an electronic music producer from Australia. He originally began producing music back when he was about 13. He's much older than that at this point. And he released his debut studio album back in 2012. This self-titled project is really what skyrocketed him to fame, featuring hits such as Insane and Sleepless, just to name a few. His distinct, eclectic production style continued to evolve over the years, and the release of his sophomore album, entitled Skin, I think is what cemented his place in the realm where electronic music seems to meet with pop music. I like to view his style as pop electronica at the highest level, and Palaces, in my eyes, is a firm statement of his ongoing evolution. Flume is a huge inspiration to me, as he is one of those artists that simply isn't afraid to take risks, and he is willing to go there, not afraid to pull things out of left field, and he manages to pull these ideas off with a very distinct type of finesse. Palaces is a total of 13 tracks. The album is a wild ride, sitting just over 45 minutes in length. As per usual, I'm going to be giving my highlights track by track. There's some lyrical content to talk about here, but for the most part, it's really the production and sound design for me. Track number 1 is entitled Highest Building, featuring Oklau. We've got some lazy sounding pads and cool vocals to set the tone at the intro. I love the processing on the vocals, as Oklau's voice sounds more synth-like than human. The drops here are really beautiful. They feature a whiny type of synth that carries the melody, and it has a metallic taste to it. And the drums hit hard in a hyperpop sense of the word. The kick has a bubbly shape to it, and it feels like it's swelling as it hits. The kick acts as a wet bass line, and I do love the pitched elements that it has. Lyrically, this song touches on themes of love and the effects that we can have on our loved ones. My favorite lyrics come during the end. They read, "Never thought that I would realize it. You could never really fight it. Every little piece of me that lies in you will never disappear." After doing some research, I found that in some interviews, Flume has explained that a lot of the sound design on this song in particular was inspired by the late producer Sophie. He explains how she taught him how to create some of the sounds that are featured on the song, so I think thematically it all comes together in a very beautiful way. The song brings a tear to my eye every time that I hear it since I found out this information, since I now understand that her spirit continues to live on in the sounds of others and in the artists that she has influenced in the short time that we had her here with us. Rest in peace, Sophie. Track number 2 is entitled Say Nothing, featuring Maya. This song showcases Flume's ability to create massive pop EDM anthems. The vocals are huge and the melodies are extremely catchy. The song is very danceable, featuring a clave groove that he uses a lot on this album, and in this song it can be heard in the snares. The background accompaniment consists of glitchy timbres for certain transitions, a thick synth bass line, and some fluffy pads that alternate between sections. The structure of the song follows the typical pop song blueprint, and I think that works for it since it makes the song more memorable and just easy to identify. Lyrically, this song can be interpreted to be about an intimate relationship between two people. During the bridge leading into the last chorus, we can hear the lines, "It's not harder than you think. It's not like we ever burnt so bright. I don't want to hear a thing, so if you don't want to say goodbye, say nothing." It's clear that something has changed in this relationship, and the speaker here is reflecting on that change and is almost ready to accept this new reality. It's almost like going through a breakup before the breakup has actually even happened. Track number 3 is entitled DHLC. The instrumental track here is oozing with Flume's unique and vibrant production style. The melody is played by a glitchy sliding synth that is constantly changing colors, but it always keeps a metallic flavor to it. The drums carry a constant halftime groove, giving the song some laid-back and bouncy energy. The song moves in a progressive manner, as there's no clear drop that maybe most listeners would expect to hear in a tune like this. This song moves organically from one section to another, creating a very beautiful and liquid listening experience. We transition into track number 4 entitled Escape, featuring up-and-coming artist named Quiet Bison and Kuka. Cool and futuristic pop tune here. The vocals and melodies are provided by Kuka are memorable and add so much beauty to the song. The production is what I would expect to hear from a genre like hyperpop, for example. We've got massive drums pushing a halftime groove through your body, and I honestly cannot get enough of the rhythms and that gargantuan kick drum. It's distorted so it feels crunchy, but in a deep-fried way. During the drop sections, we can also hear bubbly synths that carry the melody. Just imagine a melodic bubble beam. It's crazy. The synths change a bit during the drops as well. We can also hear a different synth. It's almost like shrieking in a way, scraping, and it's just effervescent in terms of color. The change in timbres certainly helps spice things up for the listener. Lyrically, it is a simple song about wanting to enter a new space of understanding, maybe a new space of consciousness, with another person. As we can hear on the hook, find another way, you could be here too. Help me elevate, I just want to escape. Find another way, what you left to lose. Excommunicate, I just wanted to escape. Track number 5 is entitled I Cant Tell, featuring Laurel. We're hit with clean vocals and a steady Moog bass line at the intro, like a synth-wavy type of steady eighth note rhythm. We can also hear a soft blippy synth sustaining some of the chords in the background, and I especially enjoy how they flutter from one ear to another. There's a lot of cool panning effects happening here. The first verse builds up beautifully to that first drop, and the drop sections are very unique, featuring metallic snares, thick kick drums, and more of those fluttering synths that conjure up the image of like a digital hummingbird just zooming along. I also enjoy the way the bass synth opens up, as it feels like the cutoff filter is just being turned all the way up as the listener gets closer to those drops. It's really during that build-up section. During the second drop, Flume introduces a wonderful whining synth that acts as a nice contrapuntal melody. It's almost like a counter melody to the other one that we hear during the first drop. It sounds like a metallic whale singing, and I've got to say it blends beautifully in the mix. Thematically, the song is about a clear divide between two people. They were once tight, but they've gradually drifted apart. My favorite lines appear during the second verse, where we can hear, "Do you know how it felt? A question that I answer myself. I'm standing here in amazement. You really showed me yourself, making it hard to engage. There's nothing left to say." Track number 6 is entitled Get You. Here, I honestly love how Flume pushes the envelope with this very experimental instrumental, featuring thick kick drums and fat, glitchy bass tones during the first half of the song. The song here, during that first section, is mostly atonal, generally just featuring a blend of rough and distorted synths that really shake you to your core. It's like you can almost feel the hairs on your arms vibrating when you hear this part of the song. Eventually, we hear a soft synth pad joining the mix, creating a beautiful color palette, as we can just barely start to hear the hint of vocals sneaking into the song. Together, these two sounds form what is the melody of the song, and the mix softens up from here on out. The drums do change as well, as Flume introduces a clave groove that switches up the energy very drastically. And the synth pads get crispier and more wavy in flavor. The song goes through a wonderful transformation, as the second half is just pure sonic bliss. I can almost feel my body floating in the digital cosmos as I reach the end of the song. And I can feel my body being reduced to binary code, just ones and zeros, by the time the song fades out. Track number 7 is entitled Jaspers Song, and it's a very beautiful piano interlude. The energy is ethereal here, as the ostinato melody that Flume presents in the piano is repeating a lot of the same notes over and over, and he adds several effects to change the color and tones of the piano. The background accompaniment consists of stretched out synths that feel like they're being slowed down to their limits. As the song progresses, the mix grows brighter and warmer as well. It's a beautiful breather for the listener before we get back to a lot of the really big bangers that are awaiting on the album. Track number 8 is entitled Only Fans, featuring Virgen Maria. This is another experimental cut featuring an eccentric instrumental and very sensual vocals. The rhythms heard in the drums are clumsy. It almost feels like the groove is drunkenly stumbling around. The sound design features rough distorted synths and a pretty synth ostinato that pops in during certain sections of the song. I love the gigantic kick drums that are used here. They're massive, just really, really big. And Virgen Maria's vocals are almost sexual in nature, as she's basically moaning for some of the ad-libs. And I have to say this does match the lyrical content very well. Admittedly, this is not a song that I'm going to revisit very often, just because it is very out there, even for my taste. I feel like you have to be in a very specific mood to want to throw this song on in a playlist. But I have to say I can appreciate the production and the unusual energy of the song. Track number 9 is entitled Hollow, featuring Emma Louise. Her warm vocals and soft synth pads open us up at the intro. It's a very smooth EDM pop tune, featuring glitchy sliding synths, fat kick drums, and a bass line to match, and lots of danceable grooves. The hook right before the drop sections loses the drums and bass, so it feels like the listener is floating into the dance sections. It gets very spacious, and then suddenly the drums anchor you back when the drops come in. The pacing and structure of the song follows a very solid pop formula, and it works very well. Thematically, the speaker is reflecting on the one that got away, that one person who you just yearn for and you still have feelings for them. I think the song's bridge highlights this well. I got some feelings of fire, I got some sense of desire, feeling the light just in light of the fact that we are alive, and I'm on my way changing up lanes. Fly through the gates, money's on me, I see you're real, I see your fear, I see you clear. Track number 10 is entitled Love Light, and this is another instrumental track. It's very smooth and very futuristic in nature. There are vocal elements here, but they are chopped up and distorted, so the only thing we can understand are the words love light being repeated over and over. The vocals are pitched up and they just barely sound like a human voice. The instrumental features bright synth strings of different types, a thick Moog-like bass, and hip-hop infused programmed drums. There's also some greasy synths that fill the soundscape pretty well during the beginning of each section, and during the second half of the song, the synths do feel more plucked, and new synth melodies are introduced. For example, there's a high-pitched whistle that you can hear, and it almost feels like a bee that's just buzzing around the mix. There's also some fat, wet synth brass hits that punch through the mix beautifully, and you can hear them more towards the end of the song. Track number 11 is entitled Sirens, featuring Caroline Polachek. This is easily my favorite tune of the album. We've got huge vocal melodies inside of a massive, massive space. The production is sleek, but it's not all the way polished. There's some scraping synths that serve as a nice contrast to Polachek's angelic voice and the beautiful, fluffy synths that can be heard in the mix. The drums are metallic and they hit in all the right ways. The drop sections are full of energy, featuring stuttering synths and soaring vocal lines. The reverb here creates a large sense of space, making the listener feel like they're inside the ethereal grotto that's featured in the music video for the exact same song, if you look it up on YouTube. Thematically, it's a beautiful song about wishing to be able to get rid of all the ills that we struggle with in the world. Each verse is similar in terms of theme, but my favorite is the fourth one. Polachek sings, "And if I could, dissolve all pride, unite divides, surrender sides." There's never any lyrical resolution, as such a wish of this kind, of course, may never be fully realized, so Caroline never really offers any sort of sense of conclusion or resolution, really. After some research, I found out that this song was originally intended to be a house track, almost like a sonic callback to Flume's roots. He originally started out as a house producer, which would have been interesting to hear, but ultimately Flume opted for a more stripped back and mellow sound and groove. It's really just a halftime groove for the song, and I think it was a change for the better, since it works very well in context of the album. What follows is track number 12, entitled Go. I love the groove of this song. We've got a pitched 808 kick and syncopated snares that highlight more of that clave rhythm Flume loves for this album. There's nice vocal chops and other distorted vocals that create a very unique mood. The tonality of the song is also distinct, moving in all sorts of interesting ways throughout the song. Now, the song is nothing crazy, but it hits in all the right ways, and I've got to say it's a solid B-side track if I've ever heard one. Thematically, it is simple. It's about not settling for less than you deserve, specifically when it comes to love. Maybe not just romantic love. As the refrain states, "No wasting time. If you love me, you'll answer. I'm taking off." Track number 13 is entitled Palaces, featuring Damon Albarn. The album closer is a gorgeous ambient piece full of serene energy. The intro of the song features sounds of rain and singing birds, draping the listener in what's a very wonderfully wet tropical blanket. There's a prominent synth that carries the melody throughout the song, and it feels a lot like a human voice, but I know for a fact that it is not. Accompanying this are soft piano chords and pads, and there's also a subtle, low buzzing bass line, which creates much needed depth for the tune. It fills a lot of the lower shelf of the song very well. There are also some percussive elements, but you don't hear them until the very end of the song, and they're mainly following a house-type groove. The vocals here are provided by none other than the lead singer of Gorillaz, and his vocals fill in a lot of the space in the mix and feature beautiful harmonies that add some of that unique human element that the album as a whole features. It's almost like sitting somewhere between human and more than human. It sounds really beautiful. Damon paints many abstract scenes with his words. His vocal feature is very brief. He just has one verse, really. He sings, "I thought that beyond the exit there would be palaces, and so there were, composed within time, being here before. If outside is no more, the golden astroturf, the countdown to the big show, swimming in casinos." The song as a whole is spacious, warm, and very, very beautiful. Overall, this album was something special. Flume has continued to grow as an artist in lots of exciting ways, and this album shows how much more refined his style has become, but his sound has always sat somewhere close to pop EDM, featuring stellar sound design and production style, but it varies from project to project, honestly. I believe this album excels in that lane at the very highest level. To me, the sound that we hear on Palaces genuinely transcends genre, just because the music borrows from elements of all sorts of different styles and presents us with something refreshing, honestly. He's not reinventing the wheel, but he is packaging accessible electronica in a way that doesn't get old, and it does feel refreshing. Palaces is polished and also rough in all the right places, and if you're looking to get into great electronic music, this is really a great place to start, especially if you haven't listened to Flume before. I had the pleasure of seeing him when he stopped by DC for the Palaces tour, and that performance was amazing, and it was honestly unforgettable. It was my first time seeing him live, too. So if you ever have the chance to see Flume perform live, do not hesitate to get some tickets whenever that day comes, whenever he starts touring or whenever he produces something new. And honestly, I'm just eager to hear how he will continue to grow as an artist, as a producer, as there's really no telling what direction he's going to go into. But I have to say, I really loved the direction he took this album in. Conceptually, the visuals, everything is so vibrant, it's so effervescent, and it just works very well. It's super cohesive. And if you have sat here and you've listened to me talk about Flume and Palaces for this long, I honestly do appreciate you taking the time to do that. If you have new music that you really want to share with somebody, you can certainly send that my way. I'm going to take my time to listen to it if I can. And if you want some feedback, just let me know. I'd be more than happy to provide that. And with all that being said, once again, I just want to say thanks, and I just hope that you have a very wonderful day. Make sure to stay hydrated because it's really, really hot out there. Take care.